It took me a year to finish this doll, with some breaks in between. Every tiny bead went through my fingers to make up this magnificent doll that is very close to my heart. It represents the tragic fact that our forests are disappearing all around the world. I'm not here to preach or lecture you, but to illustrate my heartbreak. I grew up near the forest, which was a constant presence in my life for 30 years. We took long walks there, picked berries and mushrooms, examined animal tracks, and enjoyed the beauty of so many species living in harmony. But then, one summer, it was completely gone. It was cleared out and cut down, with only a few straggler trees left. I can't describe my heartbreak at that moment when I stepped into that wasteland. I felt like my friend just died. So this doll is an illustration of that sad day. I'm so grateful for people and organizations that are trying to save at least a small piece of the forest and let it run its full course of aging, growing, decaying, and safeguarding various ecosystems within it. In this video, I will show behind the scenes of how I made this doll. It might be quite long, so relax, get a snack or some water and enjoy. For this doll, I used Ultra Chic Porcelain brand in warm brown color. I poured the porcelain into the molds, and after waiting a few minutes for it to adhere to the plaster, I poured the excess porcelain out. I will give you a little sneak peek and reveal that my porcelain doll making course will be available this autumn. So if you ever dreamed of making porcelain ball jointed doll yourself, you will have the learning material very soon. Opening molds is always a very exciting thing. You can already see the doll coming together, even though it still needs a lot of work. Raw porcelain is very soft and brittle, so I carefully remove the seams and other imperfections using a scalpel, a brush, and some water. At this point, you have to be very gentle and work slowly, because there's always a possibility to squish your work. I don't try to remove every imperfection because we will be sanding the pieces after the bisque firing, when the porcelain is a little bit stronger. I take my time and remove the seams from every piece. It usually takes the whole day and I leave the porcelain to dry through the night. It's quite a meditative process, so I put on some music or a long podcast and enjoy the work. When all the pieces are cleaned, I leave them to dry before the bisque firing. Bisque firing is the first firing in the porcelain doll making process. It's done in a lower temperatures, usually around 900 degrees Celsius, to make the porcelain easier to handle. Sanding is usually done in water because porcelain dust can be very harmful for your lungs. I really dislike dust anyways, so wet sanding is very nice in comparison. I fill the small tub with water and perfect each piece for the final firing. Here is your chance to get as meticulous as you can, because after the final firing, you won't be able to change anything. I take my time and make sure each piece is perfect. For sanding and carving, I use sanding sponges, various drill bits, a scalpel, and sometimes a needle if I need to be really precise. You have to be very patient at this stage and don't use force at all. The bisque fire porcelain is still very brittle and can crumble in an instant. Make sure that all the joints have slits, wide enough openings for springs and other hardware that will be holding this doll together. At this stage, I also check how the pieces fit together. There are a lot of miniature details in doll making, and I love it a lot. I can work on it for hours. It takes at least 2 days to perfect everything for the final firing, when the porcelain will reach maturity. It will become strong, silky soft, and a little bit translucent. My firing temperature for this porcelain is around 1220 degrees Celsius. Here you can see the pieces after the final firing. The porcelain shrinks up to 15%, so before creating your doll, you need to take that into account and do some calculations when sculpting the prototype. The porcelain looks so luxurious in comparison to other materials. It's a piece that can last for hundreds of years. I paint my doll using China paints that need to be fired in the kiln as well. These paints bond with the porcelain on a molecular level, so they won't rub off and will stay the same color for many years. It takes at least 8 layers of paint to create the soft look that my dolls have. Each layer has to be fired in the kiln, so at least 8 firings too. I mix the paint with the medium, which is the blend of different oils, and start painting. If you are curious of this process, I have a video about painting porcelain dolls on my channel. I will link relevant videos in the description below. the doll, I try to enhance the features I've sculpted. So I do a lot of blushing, adding deeper shadows and brighter highlights. I want to give the doll's body some depth, add freckles and other details that will make her unique. At this point, I already see how my doll will look like, and I have a clear vision of her character. Painting always helps to see the end result in my mind. When painting such tiny details, the thin brushes are also a must. I will link everything I'm using in the description, so check that out as well. After painting, we have to insert the leather lining for the joints, in other words, weighting the doll. It's done for better movement and to prevent porcelain pieces rubbing together. You can imagine the horrible sound that two ceramic pieces rubbing together makes, so thin leather lining prevents all that.
You're giving me wind and rain. You're some kind of butterfly. Baby, you give me midnight. I
use very thin leather pieces that are left over from making the leather goods. Since I don't need much, I try not to purchase new leather, but rather find someone who is willing to collect scraps and trade with me. My local fabric shop has bins with leather scraps too, so I purchased some there. Vegan leather is also a suitable option for lining the joints.
Don't leave me here high and dry. Oh, but I don't wanna jinx it, baby. Let's not get ahead of my time. Oh, but I don't wanna miss you, baby. So I stand up and speak just my mind. Oh.
I simply glue the leather lining to the porcelain, cut off the edges if needed, and test how the pieces work together. The movements with leather lining are so smooth and all holds the poses beautifully.
Baby, you give me ice and fire. You're chilling wind and rain. You're some kind of butterfly. Baby, you give me midnight. You whip up my appetite. Don't leave me here high and dry. Baby, you give me ice and fire. You're channeling wind and rain. You're some kind of butterfly.
To assemble porcelain dolls, I use steel springs and other metal hardware. It adds to the longevity of the doll and gives enough tension for the doll to hold each pose. The first time I've assembled one of my dolls was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my career as a doll artist. You have to be so precise with tension and figure out what works for your doll specifically. But after each doll, it gets easier. Here you can see my doll all assembled and waiting for her costume, which is an art piece in itself, taking so much time and resources to create. For the doll's hair, I use natural fibers like goat mohair or suri alpaca. When making wigs, you have to have in mind the scale of the doll, so human hair or synthetic hair made for humans will be way too thick and look too stiff and will be hard to style. I make wefts and glue them on the wig cap to create a tiny wig. There are loads of tutorials on YouTube on how to make wigs for dolls, different methods too, so you just have to try some and see what works for you. I added some braids, beads, and pearl flowers to the hair to tie in all the costume together. Now to the costume itself, I usually embroider my own fabrics, which adds months of work to the project, but the unique and one-of-a-kind result is so worth it. I want to add meaningful details so the viewer could look at this doll for hours and still find something new. In my opinion, it elevates the doll to another artistic level. I use a lot of sequins, seed beads, crystals, and attach them by hand. There's something beautiful in this work because every time I have to learn to be more patient and don't seek quick reward. I never used so many beads as for this doll. Every piece of her costume is embroidered. This headpiece as well. But I had a clear vision in my mind on how she will look like, so I was following my inspiration. Miniature shoes are one of my favorite things to make for dolls. I chose to create these ornate slippers with metal details and sculpted sole. They really fit the elaborate costume and I had so much fun making them. There's a full tutorial for these on my Patreon page. So this is my sad but beautiful doll. Born from pain and helplessness, she grew into something unique and magical. All of my dolls represent nature, but this one represents the loss of it. I can only dream that things will change someday, even though I don't have much hope. I will continue to create dolls that will bring our attention to the beauty of nature, plants, and the world surrounding us. I hope this long video was interesting to watch. If you made it to the end, please give me a like, subscribe, so you wouldn't miss any future videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.